the most responses are, it really doesn't matter to me that the candidate shares my kind of personal religious beliefs. And here, again, we see, you know, there's this real skepticism, right? We want religion to be important in our lives. We see it less important in the world around us, but we don't want people in political power using their religious beliefs. And you can even kind of see this as well on both sides of the issue. You know, do we want liberals keeping religion out of schools? Not really. Do we want conservative Christians imposing their values on it? Not really. And so it cuts both ways. I want to suggest that there are, you know, two different narratives here, right?
This was going to be rich. There was going to be so much to say. And it didn't happen. It really hasn't happened. The last thing I think most of us could imagine would be that Romney's Mormonism would be a non-issue, and yet here we are. In fact, the better talk right now might be around Catholicism, and the Mormon moment has sort of become a Catholic moment in this election. But, fair enough, I will gamely proceed with Mormonism anyway. It's not that there's nothing to say, it's that it's fascinating that with so much to say, so little has been said. So I bet most of you are curious to know something about Mormons, their beliefs and their practices, and whether some of the stranger things that you've heard about Mormons are true. So I'm going to help you out. I'm going to help you all make sense of this Mormon moment, the statements and the stammers and the silences. What we can't overlook is the deafening silence around Romney's Mormonism. In his acceptance speech at the RNC, for instance, he used the word Mormon just once, and he used it to say of his childhood, quote, "We were Mormons." And people cared more about what sports teams we rooted for than where we went to church. The subtext of this, if I may, is, I'm not coming out publicly as a Mormon presently, which is why I use the past tense were. And like my childhood neighbors, you shouldn't care about my Mormon identity either. More important is what team I play for, your conservative Republican team. So what to watch for in the next couple months, couple weeks? Will there be more Mormon votes for Romney as a result of him being a Mormon candidate? Well, in truth, any talk of an election boost for Romney coming from Mormons is not likely to be very large. Mormons are already enthusiastic patriots, and they already vote in large numbers Republican. Mormons voted for McCain over Obama 78% to 19% in 2008. Polls suggest Romney's lead is just slightly higher, about 84% to 13%. Considering Mormons are less than 2% of the population, these numbers are really not enough to sway swing states in any direction. In short, Mormons would be voting for Romney anyway, simply because he's a Republican. So all this is to say that even though the Mormon question has really not been as contentious as we would have expected, it's still a fascinating topic for this upcoming election. While Mitt's Mormonism may not sway the election, it certainly shows all of us, as students of religion, politics, and American culture, how to think about, engage, and critically examine these questions around religion, politics, and Mormonism.
And that in the United States, there have been many, many, many religious people on the side of increasing equality. But there have been even more religious people on the side of politics isn't really the place for women. And this is across many different religious backgrounds have had this idea that women really should be more in the domestic sphere. And that that's actually what God wants. And so because of that, there's a lot of, at least that's one piece of a bigger picture, there are a lot of stereotypes associated with women that make women less likely to even think they should run for office.
On the electorate themselves, African Americans, for example, have been considered a voting bloc in this country ever since the end of the Civil War, when most of them were granted the right to vote for the first time. And a feared bloc at that. There's a lot of fear of African Americans as a voting bloc because of the potential for swaying elections one way or another. There's still a fear that African Americans are a bloc vote. 95% supported Obama, and there's a sense that 95% will support him again. Whenever a black candidate runs against a white candidate, you'll find stereotypes and very little attention to issues, which I'm very concerned about, because these issues are life and death, and I think we're going to shape the future of our country in our world for our next generation. And so somehow I'm hoping people will be able to transcend these stereotypes and these appeals to the emotion and just look at what you think is the best thing for our country. If you decide to vote for Romney, fine, but do so with some kind of logic.